Hi, my name's Paul Riley, and I'm the Associate Minister here at City Temple. It's great that you could join us. I'm joined today by Rod Woods.
Hey, Paul.
Rod, I've heard you say that you don't like church much. Is that right?
That's right.
But that seems strange to me, because you're the minister of City Temple. What is it that you don't like about church?
Well, for me, so much about that I experience in many churches seems to be artificial. Sometimes I come into a church and the people are all acting the same way, dressed the same way, they look the same, and it doesn't really reflect a lot of what I see on the street, and then people seem to be putting on these plastic smiley faces all the time, and it just doesn't seem real to me. And so that kind of environment is something that I've really never cared for, or the quality of what's being offered is so substandard. I mean, I don't expect everybody to be television performers, but a lot of times just the quality, it doesn't seem like they're even trying at all. And so all of these things, I just haven't liked all of this about church.
Okay, so if you don't like church, then why are you a minister?
Well, besides the fact that I feel like God's called me to be a minister, one of my goals is actually to help build churches for people who don't like church, people like myself.
So it seems to me that there are a lot of people out there who've been wounded by church.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, certainly. I talk to people all the time who go into a church and they feel like all it's doing is asking for money, or they feel like the minister or the leaders of the church are really controlling and domineering. Sometimes the churches just haven't taken time to understand them as people. They seem to think that everybody needs to act the same way or do the same kinds of things, and when somebody comes in who doesn't feel like they fit in with that, they feel like people try to mold them into a certain fashion, or eventually they try to force them out and push them out. And so we see people all the time who really have been wounded, and sometimes people come in and they're wounded because they have unrealistic expectations about what the church is supposed to be. They think that, well, if we're really good Christians, we'll never have conflict, people will never have their feelings hurt, people will never say anything stupid or hurtful, and that's just totally unrealistic. We all know that we ourselves, we make mistakes every single day. We say things because we're tired or they're rude, these kinds of things. And so people often get wounded by their completely unrealistic expectations for what churches should be and what they should do.
So how would you say you're dealing with that problem?
Well, what we try to do at City Temple is embrace people from whatever background that they come. We don't want people to look the same way. We don't expect people to dress up. We don't expect people to dress down either. We don't expect everybody to be young or old or English. We want to embrace people from all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of settings. We don't expect people who come here to have lots of money. We don't say it's great to be poor, because most people who are poor don't want to be poor. But at the same time, we don't say that if you're poor, you're any better or worse than somebody who's rich. And if you're rich, you're not any better than somebody who is poor. The other thing is we try to give enough space in the life of the church for people to discover how God has wired them individually. We believe that God's created us all differently, and so we try to create a canvas, if you will, or an environment that's framed by our vision and our values and the things that are important to us, our beliefs. But within that framework, we want people to create, we want them to grow, to develop as God has created them as individual people. And also, we give people the space to fail, to make mistakes. So many times I've talked to people who are in a church where they've messed up one time, and all of a sudden the church wants to kick them out, or say you're not welcome around here any longer. And we believe that people, if we're going to grow, if we're going to become better, we have to make mistakes. That means we're going to fail from time to time. And so we try to create an environment of grace, of undeserved favor, where people can fail, where they can experiment with new ways of being Christian. They might experiment with a spiritual gift, or try something they've never tried before. And we don't expect them to be perfect the first time they try it. We want them to have the ability to learn and to grow, and to realize that they might try one thing and discover that's not for them. And so they should try something else. So we try to create this grace-filled environment where people can discover what God is doing in their lives, and also discover other people. I mean, one of the key dynamics I think that has to happen in any church is that you need to discover who God has made you to be, but then you also need to discover what it is to be with other Christians. And sometimes that's a difficult and painful experience. I mean, it's not always the easiest thing to do, to be in with other Christians, especially because everyone else is in the same situation. I mean, everyone else is making mistakes. We're failing on certain things. We're trying new things. We're experimenting, and then we make a mess of it. And that's part of our human tendency. And we need to learn how to give each other grace and space in all of this, to experiment, to realize we're going to mess up. And instead of just exposing people every time they mess up, we want to cover over that and give them the opportunity to do better, to change, to grow. And we believe that it's in this, what sometimes is a very messy environment, that people can actually discover a little bit better what it means to be a human being as God's created us. And obviously then, probably the most important thing about the life of any church is that it's a place where people can encounter God. We want people to discover who Jesus Christ is, and what He's done for us, and how He died on the cross to correct, in one sense, all of the ways that we mess things up, and so that we can actually become better people. And we want people to discover the Holy Spirit, and how the Holy Spirit can work in their lives to make them more effective as they live their lives as a Christian. And we also wanted people to discover God as Father, to understand that the parents that have messed them up and messed them around so many times, that's not what God's like. He's perfect. He's loving. He might give you a tough time from time to time as He helps you to grow and to develop. But people need to discover that they do have a loving Father that cares for them. And so we try to create this kind of environment where people can develop. And in that way, create a church for people who don't like church. I mean, we still do all the stuff that churches have done for the last 2,000 years. It's still about training people as followers of Jesus. It's still about coming together to worship God. It's about coming together and having fellowship with one another, sharing our lives together. It's about praying together, seeking God, and it's also about serving and seeing how we can serve one another and serve to advance God's kingdom all around the world. And so all of these dynamics come together, and hopefully in that process we become a church for people who don't like church.
Sure, so it's a misconception that you have to have your life completely sorted out before you can join City Temple.
It certainly is, yeah. In fact, we believe that it's messed up people who should be coming, people without their lives sorted, sure, that should come here to City Temple, and in the coming discover something new for themselves, and discover a little bit better how God actually intended things to be, that we've messed up so much.
That sounds very healthy to me. So why is it that people get hurt or wounded in church?
Well, because a lot of times they come with really unrealistic expectations. And in saying with all of this, we don't want to make City Temple out to be something that's perfect, something that has no problems. We've got problems just like any other group of people. But what we do have is the hope of Jesus, that those problems can be better, that we as people can be better, and that we, as we come together and allow Jesus to make us better, that we can also create a better world, a world more like what God intended it to be. It won't be perfect until Jesus comes again, but we can move in that direction, and we're confident of this. This is our faith.
Thanks, Rod.
Yeah.
It's great to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon.